our work session on this wonderful day of May the 9th, right?
Yep.
And 6 o'clock, and we're getting ready to start our meeting, so everyone is welcome. We have John Roberts as a guest to speak to us about student accident and catastrophic insurance coverage. So if you would like to take the podium.
I'm going to jump in real quick for Mr.
I'm
Roberts.
sorry.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
You've been put on roll up here.
Yeah, I am. So currently we are using Johnson Pullman, which is local, and actually what ended up happening, I was meeting with the athletic director and the high school principal about, or I guess what I would say is, they're questioning about whether we can change insurance companies. So what we've done is asked Johnson Pullman, who are local, to submit their proposal for student accident insurance. And it's just a little bit, I have nothing negative to say about Johnson Pullman locally. I will say that the process of using a live risk is a little more tedious for our staff members, in particular our athletic department. And so I asked Johnson Pullman via Mr. Funkhauser to submit their proposal for both student accident and catastrophic insurance. And then I also requested the Roberts Insurance Company to submit a proposal as well. Both have done so, and John Roberts is here to talk on their behalf this evening. I do want to share the Johnson Pullman, and I will say as well that them being local may play an impact on your decision. Having said that, I do understand, and I've heard this secondhand, that Johnson Pullman, while we do have a local agent, is no longer a local per se insurance company, that they've been bought out by someone outside of Denver. A couple of things that I want to share. The first document I'm sharing is the catastrophic insurance coverage. On this catastrophic claim, it would come up to $2,500. The total Johnson Pullman, request comes out right at $33,000. 2,500 of it being catastrophic. The interesting points on the catastrophic insurance that I will point out that I think also perhaps limits our use of Johnson Pullman, and especially a live risk, is you'll see on the screen for the catastrophic insurance claim that they're only providing insurance to our student athletes, and only student athletes in grades 9 through 12. And I point that out in addition that their total maximum benefit comes out to $5 million as a per injury amount, $5 million on that. So I showed you that one first. That is the catastrophic insurance for a total of $2,500. They have also provided their request for student accident. And again, don't really have anything, have nothing negative to say about Johnson Pullman. I just think that based on what we're hearing on claims, very difficult to reach someone and to fill out the forms via their Alive Risk, which is the group that they run their insurance through. And in regards to their request on student accident insurance, there is the total policy cost of $30,500. Again, if you combine that with the $2,500 catastrophic, because this would be one kind of decision by the board next Monday night, you come up with the $33,000. And a couple of things that I will point out on the student accident. In the regards to the student accident, this would be all of our students, pre-K through 12. So if a student has an accident, whatever the case may be, then that's going to cover all of our students in our schools. And there is an annual maximum for all accident medical, which would be $25,000. And that's pretty much, I think, everything that I want to point out. There's a few other notations down there, nothing major that I would point out in regards to Johnson Pullman. I do appreciate Mr. Funkhauser sending me a timely quote, and I just want to provide that information to the board as well. The reason that I reached out to Roberts Insurance is Roberts Insurance is very well known throughout the state. I had them at somewhere between, and John can address this, I know that the majority by far of school districts in the Commonwealth use Roberts Insurance. I won't sing Mr. Roberts' praises while he's here, but we'll turn the microphone over to Mr. Roberts, and perhaps you can tell us why you might be a better option for our district.
Thank you. Dr. Thomas, you want me to stand or hold the mic? What would work best?
Whatever works for
Whatever
you.
you're comfortable with.
Okay. Sit down. Thank you all for having me here. My name is John Roberts, work with Roberts Insurance in Richmond, Kentucky. It's a family business. Dad started the agency 52 years ago. When you call our office, there's a Roberts at every corner, and my mom works there as well, and my brother. But our agency, we represent 152 school districts in Kentucky, just doing student accident insurance. Student accident, it's a niche market. You think on your property and liability or workers' comp, you might have 4 or 5 claims a year. Student accident, we might see 50 or 60 from your district in a year. So we have a dedicated team in our office that's committed to student accident. And my brother and I were looking at it. We have about 162 years of experience handling claims in our office that would be committed to Danville Independent Schools and their students. We're also the agent for the KHSAA's catastrophic policy. I mention that only because the KHSAA provides a catastrophic policy up to $7.5 million for all sanctioned KHSAA events. So the policy that you have currently, which is only insuring athletes in grades 9 through 12, really the KHSAA has a catastrophic policy for that. So really you have a policy from 0 to 25,000. So what we would do is we would make sure that Danville Independent School mirrors the KHSAA's policy so there's no coverage gaps. And then we make sure that the limits match as well. And then every year, so when we look at your student accident insurance, we have access to every market in the student accident field. From where we do work with so many school districts in Kentucky, we'll be able to bring you 8 or 9 quotes from the key carriers in the marketplace every year. So some people that don't focus on student accident insurance can only access 1 or 2 markets. We'll be able to access, and plus we know who the best are at paying claims. The quote that we provided you with uses a carrier named K&K Insurance. We have been working with K&K. Gosh, I think my dad and Scott Lunsford, the main person at K&K, have been working together for maybe 40 years, 35 to 40 years, I believe. K&K Insurance is, what we like about them is we know the people there. When you're dealing with insurance, you're dealing with parents on their toughest days. So you want to make sure that you know the people, and the people, Ernestine, Scott at K&K, we have their cell phone numbers. If there is a problem, we can pick up the phone and call them. Another thing that we use is we have something called an extra point report. So an extra point report allows us to analyze your data every year, your loss data. For example, we had a neighboring school district that we noticed 75% of their claims were not just athletic, they were actually from non-athletic. And then when we dug into the extra point report even deeper, we found that it was actually recess and PE claims were accounting for those student accident insurance claims. So when we notified the board, made them aware of that, they said, okay, let's modify what we do in PE and let's increase supervision in the hallway. And we've actually been able to offer a decrease to that school district the past 3 years because their claims have come down so much. So when you're hiring us, you're not just going to get a price. You're going to get claims experience, you're going to get claims data analysis, everything above and beyond of just what we see on the price here. But we marketed your account to all of our carriers, and the best price is what's up on the screen. So our policy does go up to $7.5 million. And when we do $7.5 million, that means every student at Danville Independent is going to have coverage up to $7.5 million The biggest claim we ever had was a kid fell off a slide in a recess, and it went all the way up to $5 million. And that was several years ago, and now we go all the way up to 7.5. And so the annual premium, if we did 100% plan, that means there's no limits on anything. The annual premium would be $32,000.76.
You're bad at math. What in the world is that Madison Central graduation? What has that provided for you?
What, the Madison Central?
That diploma, Madison, says $32,076, John. Not
32, is
cents.
that what $32,076, I apologize. I took my glasses off so I could see you all from far, but $32,076. And then if we did do a plan where we cap physical therapy, and the reason why we do that is, for example, I just had back surgery. I mean, on my health insurance, I got 12 visits for my back surgery, which is still a very rich plan. $1,000 is still a very rich plan, $1,000 limit. If we were to do that, we're able to save additional dollars for the school district. It would be $29,076.
So,
Can I ask, out of the claims that are submitted, not here but everywhere, how many of those is this the secondary coverage?
Good question. I would say that about 65% it's secondary. But one good thing about this plan is if there's no primary, one, we step up and become primary. One thing that's changed is more people have primary insurance, but they actually have higher deductibles. So this will step in and fill copay and deductible as well. So the number of people that have primary insurance has increased, but we're filling in more gaps. And then anything that's not covered by primary, we're going to step in and cover it as long as it's school-sponsored, school-supervised activity.
I was just going to ask about that $1,000 limit. If, and I see there are two rates there, John, so if we do the plan one, 100% usual and customary at $32,076, no limit on physical therapy for our students, is that correct?
That's correct.
And if we go with the lower rate of the $29,076, then any student that the doctor then says physical therapy is required, then that would be limited to 1,000. But you're
Yes.
saying you're saying 1,000 is
Still
a
rich
substantial
benefit.
amount.
It's a great benefit. And usually if you're, like with my physical therapy, they knew how many visits I had. And then anything beyond that, you had a negotiated price. So usually you can work with that physical therapist. I mean, but $1,000 limit is actually very rich in this field.
So do we currently have a limit on the physical therapy with what we have?
You do currently, but there was an option, I believe, on the renewal that did not. So but we always provide both. It does help control, like, when we do your renewals every year, it's based on loss data. So the higher the claims, then you could potentially see rate increases. So having a cap on physical therapy does help control your loss data, or help control your losses to where it'll potentially level out your premiums in the future. Or, I mean, you can do a 100% plan and it might never be an issue. You just, it's a decision for you all. We just want to provide as many options as we could.
I don't see the
I was
physical
looking on the
therapy
search for
on
it.
the other document. That would just seem like to me, if our students, especially our athletes, were injured, that would be a big benefit, is to have that physical therapy as an option on there.
How long have you all been with Bergen Independent?
Oh, gosh.
A while?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I know you three in the area, Boyle County, Bergen, and also Garrett County.
Yeah, I would say over 25 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my wife was very familiar with Robert. She was the athletic director several years ago at Bergen.
Okay, okay.
She said, luckily enough, we didn't have that many claims, but she definitely spoke highly of
Yeah,
this
and
company.
Dr. Thomas has my cell phone number if you all ever had a problem, or sometimes you are the first to hear about anything that's going on. It's usually just if there's something going on, it's paperwork. call my cell phone. We're happy to call the parents, reach out, help them navigate through that process.
All right, just so I'm clear, and then we'll let you go, Mr. Roberts, $32,076 gives us, $32,076 gives us, 7.5 million catastrophic, gives us our normal insurance, and then no limitations on physical therapy.
Yes, sir.
And then $29,000 if the district chooses to save $3,000 off of your cost, would then be all of that 7.5 million plus our normal student accident insurance, and then the only limitation would be on physical therapy.
Yes, correct. And either way, you'd be making a jump from 5 million to 7.5 million. And really covering who I believe you're intending to cover on your catastrophic policy. Yeah, all of your students.
So you're saying we would not need a separate catastrophic?
The catastrophic's included in this, right? Yes. Right.
Claim one.
Gotcha.
Yes. Goes all the way to 7.5.
I think it's included in both plans,
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Oh,
Yes.
The only limit would be that physical therapy.
That's the,
So that's a decision for the board would be if, number one, whether you're choosing Johnson and Coleman again, or whether you're going with Roberts Insurance. And then if you do go with Roberts Insurance, then your decision is Plan 1, which covers everything, or Plan 3, which has that limit on physical therapy.
Okay.
All right, John, thank you. Does
Thank
anybody
you.
have any more questions, Jeff?
Yeah.
Glenn?
No.
Mr. Roberts, we anticipate a decision next Monday evening, just to keep you in the loop.
thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Well, thank
you.
you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Drive safe.
Thank you. Pretty day for a drone.
So when my daughter broke her wrist playing soccer at the end of schools, she could have had a lot of physical therapy, is what I'm hearing you say.
Did she have physical therapy?
No.
You know, that's a tough one, because number one, if y'all have primary insurance,
Right,
That's-
it goes to the primary insurance
and
first.
then anything over and above that would come to our accident plan. So, but the, on something like that, that would be covered. Well, are we ready, Mr. Peppersock?
No, we are. We're going to go to item number 3, which is the finance update. And item 3A actually is talking about tentative budget, which is going to be, basically, I view this as a learning session for the board. There's lots going on with this budget, so.
Well, Kim and
Dr.
I,
Thomas.
Ms. Huddleston and I are going to tag team this, and I'll ask her to step on up to the microphone. We'll tag team a little bit. I want to share some information. I know we've got a lot, we're learning a lot about our budget, and we started to have this conversation back in February, if you remember, and we kept saying, what's the legislation going to do? And so then we get some good positive information from legislation, and then start making some plans and trying to anticipate the amount of money that we'll have coming in next year. I'm going to do a little bit of a walkthrough on some current, I'm going to give you a lot of data.
You all can move your seats.
Yeah.
Serious. Or sit, yeah.
So I'm going to give you a lot of data on where we are as a district financially. I know we've got teachers of great interest in this
Hey,
discussion.
The light switch is behind you. Would you just go on and flip it off for these old eyes? Thank you.
Now, I gave Mr. Roberts a rough time about his math skills, but then I also taught Miss Brosie, and I remember her laughing her math skills as well.
Busted. On public record.
With my prowess
Well.
in English.
The English was fantastic. That was fantastic, but I do remember those math skills. So.
So you used to like Dr. Thomas. Okay.
Well, I just remember that our math teacher said, we're getting ready to do a PowerPoint. Awesome, if you'll turn off the light, we'll give you 5 extra credits.
So you can't see nothing on that.
5% raise.
5% raise.
Nice.
All right, so here we've got some current historical example independent district student count, and this is without pre-K. Pre-K is funded in a whole different category. And so the big thing that I want you to notice is really in the last 5 years, the number of students that we've lost in our district. And a lot of that really, the decline, I don't think necessarily has to do much with us as a district, more so to do with what we went through in 2020, 2021, and then the beginning part of 21, 22. And as a result, over these last 4 years, we've declined, I think if my math is correct, that looks like around 93 students more or less. So 93 students. That is from September. That data was taken from September of this year. I'm sad to say that from that number in September, we've lost an additional, meaning we've had an additional 25 students that have left the district. So we're actually down 118. Again, I wasn't a whiz at math either, but we're actually down 118 students in the last 4 to 5 years. I say that because of the guaranteed seat base amount being $4,100 per student. If we had those 118 students in our district, we would have an additional $483,800 coming to us. An additional $500,000 would be coming to our district. And that's just the realities that we are facing. I do hope that things come back after COVID. And we've got House Bill 563 that has passed, and we have created an opportunity for other districts to apply. And we've it's been very positive early on. We've had several students from Boyle, Lincoln, Garrett, Mercer who've already applied, anywhere from K all the way up to 12th grade and in between. So I'm excited about the possibilities of more students. I just simply want to say that if we want to increase, looking forward to the future, we've got to put a great product out there, and I've shared with the board, and I'll share tonight again, ways that I think that we need to approach the next several years to make Danville Independent the choice for academics and certainly for a public education. Moving on, I do want to show you that our certified positions, and I didn't get into classified simply because we're funding a lot of classified positions this year with ESSER funding, and so I just pulled out the total certified positions. You can see in 2017-18 we had 181 certified positions. We grew a little bit, and then we've declined back to 174, which is a loss of about 7 teachers. In general, if I were to average, benefits and everything for a teacher, if I average that at, let's say, $62,000 for the average teacher salary plus benefits, I come up with a total of almost 8 teachers that should have declined based on those numbers declining. And so we're right there in tune. We probably should have lost 8 teachers, but we've lost, or I'm saying certified positions, excuse me. We should have declined 8 certified positions. We've declined 7. And that's for our size district, we're going to continually, we're going to, as an independent district, we realize it takes more staff to oversee an independent district, to offer the offerings that we want our student body to be a part of. I am going to turn it over to Ms. Huddleston here in a little bit, but we'll get there. I keep hearing a lot about student-teacher ratio and from Boyle to Danville, and I do add this because this shows that dedication that we have to what we're doing as an independent district. So when this is total, again, certified staff. So when you see those numbers, we got some teachers in the rooms like, oh, that's not my classroom. But this takes in the total certified population. It includes your principals, your assistant principals, your PE, your specialists, your library media specialists, and so forth. And Boyle does the exact same thing. They try to arrive at 16:1 for elementary, and then once they do their ratio, they take the number of specials and so forth and add that in. That's how they come to 16:1. And with our elementary, what we've done is we're actually at, we're a little lower at at Hogsett and just a little bit above that, 15.7 at Tolliver, but that combined between the two comes out to a student-teacher ratio of 15.71. And then our middle school, it's 1.5 students less than Boyle, and then at the high school, almost a full 3 students per certified teacher at the high school. So really, really great working numbers in the Danville Independent School District. let me pause and see if there's any questions at this point, because I've got quite a bit to talk a little bit about on our tentative budget moving forward. Anything on numbers, certified positions, or the ratio? All right, so then this is hot off the press this morning, and these are, I have either text, called, or got confirmation from each one of these districts of what they're doing as far as the salary increase. And I don't know what's going on in Woodford County, but official this morning heard from a district level employee that they're not doing an increase in Woodford County, which is bewildering to me.
That's for sales, isn't it?
That's for sales, yeah. Jessamyn's doing, they haven't made a full decision, but between a 1% and 2% increase. Same thing for Frankfurt Independent. I put some up here that are close to us in proximity and similar to us in nature. And so Jessamyn, proximity-wise, Frankfurt, similar in nature to us. Casey County, 2%. Their board's voting on that, and so when I talked with the Casey superintendent, he said he expects 2%, but perhaps they might go up to 3% tonight at the board meeting. Somerset said straight 2%, very similar to us. I just do Madison County there because I know that intimately. I still live there, and they're doing 2%. A very large district, with a great tax base as well. Madison County is 2%. Lincoln's doing 3%, Washington 3%, and Garrett 3%. Garrett's the one I don't feel as confident about because I didn't officially hear from an employee at their district office. I only read that in an email from their superintendent saying that they were anticipating a 3%. And then of course we know Boyle has already given a 5% increase. And
This is for certified and classified? Just
that
certified?
Boyle did 5% across the board, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was
And
the
so
same for the rest?
all of those except for Garrett, which I was not able to verify, that's going to be across the board percentages. Boyle, of course, is the extreme, and it's tough for us because that's in our community. That's our neighbor, and they are the extreme, even though, of course, Garrett, Washington, Lincoln all are around us. Casey and Somerset and Frankfurt, similar to us in nature. And so moving forward, what I just randomly did was pull the average teacher salaries for area districts. And so I just took a 10-year employee on rank 2 and said, what do we pay, what do they pay? And as you can see for Garrett County, so our 10-year rank 2 employee makes, based on our pay scale, $53,726. And of course, Garrett makes, we pay $2,837 more than Garrett. We pay $2,965 more than Lincoln. We are $251 less than Mercer. $753, that's current, that does not include their 5% raise, so they're going to go up 5% over that at Boyle. Bergen pays $2,568 less than we do, and Jessamyn pays $231 less than we do. So if you take the average of all of those, then we are paying on average $1,266 more than our area school districts. You get over and obviously do a 20-year employee with rank 1, that's going to be a substantial increase. You can see in Danville alone, it's worth $10,000 to do that. And again, this is where I think longevity plays a big part in Danville schools, because at this point, over and above the rank 1 for Garrett, we're paying almost $5,900 more. Then Lincoln, we're paying $6,400 more. Than Mercer, we're paying $1,648. Boyle, of course, we're paying less, $2,137 less. And we're paying $4,900 more than Bergen. Jessamyn then, at their rank 120 year, they overtake us, and we pay $1,074 less than Jessamyn. And on average, of all of those districts, we are paying $2,605 more than our surrounding districts. So, we're right there at the top, and just looking at that, Boyle is the one that's really getting us. I'm going to just pause there for just a second. because I do want to talk a little bit about what we can do and what we cannot do. And I've talked with the board, for the teachers in the room, I've talked with the board about this. I really believe that we have to embrace who we are as a district. We love diversity. We love who we are. We love the independent nature of our district. And unfortunately, there are things that certainly we want to compete. I love every one of our teachers. I love our kids. I love what we do. But where we're located, we are in a boundary that has, I won't say zero potential for growth, but close to zero. But we're in a city district. And so I happen, and I'm going to get into some, I said I'm not good at math. I'm actually decent at math and pretty good at finance as well. But I want to talk about a few of those things as I put this graphic on the board. And that is, if you've ever taken a drive down Lebanon Road, you see these beautiful buildings down Lebanon Road. They're called distilleries, I believe is what they're called.
Mm-hmm.
We have no space capacity in the city of Danville. Now, hearing rumors that maybe we'll get one.
Well, actually, we do have a distillery. I'm meeting with them on Saturday, as a matter of fact. They're very happy to be in the school district, and they are fighting a road issue, which has stopped some construction things going on. But we're still 5 years. But they're here and they want to be here.
I guess my point is, every time something new pops up in Boyle County, financially, and I'll explain it very simply, in year one, the school district gets 100% of the tax revenue from that business. 100%. Anytime there's something new, 100%. So if Ford builds a new dealership that's exactly right across the road from our district, which they did, Boyle County gets 100% of the tax revenue in year one. And then if they do the 4% like our board has historically done, every year after that they get the 4% increase on that. And so when you're looking at all of the growth in Boyle County, I'm just going to tell you that we have to embrace who we are, because we can't compete financially with that growth. We're at our limit. So when you see a new subdivision going up, well, we're fortunate that they're talking about a new subdivision just right down the road here, and then we might get 40 more homes. That would be really good tax revenue on 40 homes. And so I just say that because revenue is literally limited to, and you can see this on the tentative budget coming up, to two aspects: our state revenue and our tax revenue. And our tax revenue will not move very much any given year because we're not getting new business or industry. We have those buildings here, and somebody might exit that building and a new business come into that building, but we don't get that 100% tax revenue because it's not a new building. We just get what we've been getting on that. Go ahead.
I think it was in year 2, I found out there are 2 subdivisions inside the city limits. Those students do not come to Danville High School, they go to Boyle County. And I talked to Vince about that. He said in order to get them into the Danville Independent School District, 75% of the residents have to vote to want to be a part, to leave Boyle County to come to Danville.
Well, their tax, their property tax, and I don't know what theirs is, but let's say that it is 68 cents. I'm just making that number up, but that seems like a fair amount. They're not going to vote for that because ours is 94.5%.
Right, I understand.
And so they're just not, that's just not going to happen.
So that's what's happened to us. I said, 2 subdivisions, and
we have a real opportunity student-wise when we are providing a product.
right,
Because we've got low student-teacher ratio, and we have great opportunity, and so I think that is an avenue that can help us. On the screen, you'll see, and this is the huge thing for me, because when the legislation broke, and I heard that we're going to be getting this, what in my mind was going to be a windfall, and then we started getting into the numbers, and so the 2023 the net general fund SEEK anticipated income is $7,233,810. And when you compare that to the 2022 net general fund SEEK income of $6,997,258, you see that we're actually only increasing revenue based on what the legislation, we're appreciative of that, based on what the legislation has done, of $236,552. Now, I just put these numbers up here. This includes all certified staff. A 1% salary increase for Danville Independent District is $140,250. A 2% salary increase is $280,500. That's simple math right there. If we do a 2% salary increase, then we will go over every amount of our increase from our SEEK funding for next year. 3% salary increase across the board is $420,750. And then one that I think that everybody in the district is at least committed to is the $1 for increase for our bus drivers, our cooks, our instructional assistants. And so if you remember what started this discussion back in February was our bus drivers are compared to the area, and we did the same area comparison if you remember back a few months ago. Our bus drivers, our cooks, and our instructional assistants are well underpaid. And so the $1 increase for those employees, in addition to a 3% salary increase for all other employees, would result in a 3% salary increase across the board for all classified and certified, but would give a greater increase to those bus drivers, those cooks, and those instructional assistants. And in some cases, for example, the bus drivers, that would be about a 6 to 7% increase. For the instructional assistants, that would be about a 7 to 8% increase. And the cooks, because their hours can change, the cooks increase could go upwards. It's not 10%, but it would probably hover around that 9% increase for them. And we appreciate all of you sending those wonderful emails. I've had great reading over the last couple of days. Thank you for that 8% ask right there. I'm being facetious now. I love you. I really do. I love what you do for our kids every day. But to think that our salary could increase by 8%, that's an impossibility, because an 8% salary increase is $1,122,000. And then a salary, again, I'm just talking dollars and cents here, it is a perpetual expense, which means once you give that increase, it's always going to be there. And then it will always, anytime you add a percent onto that, or 2% on it, it again increases that increase as well. And so I'll stop there and pause for the board to see if there are any questions from the board about, or comments from the board about anything there.
This is very helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
Again, we'll finalize any decisions that we make the next week. One thing, and I don't have a recommendation for the board, but my bare minimum will be that, my recommendation, you all get to do, you get to make the choice whenever you come there. But my bare minimum would be that would include the $1 an hour increase for the bus drivers, the cooks, and instructional assistants. We clearly have a need there to do a great increase in those three areas. And now, when you get to our maintenance and you get to our custodians and so forth, remember when we do that comparison, we're well above the average in this area in other classified positions. But those three seem to be egregious to us and to me, and so at bare minimum, I would recommend that we would do the $1 hour increase for those. Anything else before I turn it over to Kim to talk about our tentative budget? Ms. Huddleston?
Well, thank you. I think on the tentative budget, there was a lot of information that Dr. Thomas went over very quickly. If we start at the first page of that tentative budget, you're gonna see this is where our revenues come in, our local sources, which includes that general property tax. I set that as very similar to what we have in the last couple of years. Our feelings on that hasn't changed. We haven't looked at increasing the rate that property was taxed on, so those are things that could change later on. You have the Psc tax, which is your tax you receive from your electric company, your phone bill company, those type things. And when you go on down, just go on to page 2, because those are all pretty self-explanatory. You come to the state source of revenue, which is our SEEK, and you can see that there's a $7.2 million.
Stop.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
trying to get it.
I was good, okay.
I'm trying.
So sorry.
Sorry, no, that's fine. All right, okay, go ahead.
That's where our SEEK has been forecasted at. So I inputted that information in there, and you can see that that has a steady increase for that net SEEK money. But that has to do with our average daily attendance and with the amount that the state gives us per pupil, which had increased this year from $4,000 up to $4,100. Next year it's projected to go to $4,200. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you add down at the bottom of the page, we have on behalf payments, and that is payments that we make for our employees for their part of their insurance, their part of their retirement, those type things. And so down at the bottom of page 3, you see that we have our total revenues. And I'm just going to have you really quick to go over to page 8.
I'm struggling a little bit.
I'm sorry.
So you want to go down to page 8?
Yeah, just to the end of the expenditures. You'll see where our expenditures and our revenue has balanced out. Maybe page.
Zoom out a little bit, or
Zoom in a little bit.
either one.
Alright, there we go. So it's page 6 is what we're talking about with the
Okay.
balanced budget. Is that right, with the total expenditures?
There's your total expenditures.
Page 6.
Yeah.
And you can see that the total expenditures and the total revenue balances, which is required by KDE. And on page 4, our expenditures start, they're categorized by instruction, student support services, you have your district admin support, and each one of these have a category of everything above 300 is your personnel expenses. Below that is your other expenses for the district in that area. So that's where your supplies and your any property that may be needed for the tentative for next fiscal year comes into play. And on page 5, you'll see like of the business support services, which is basically my departments. Then you also have the plant operations and maintenance. One thing I want just to point out, the past couple years we didn't do a lot of maintenance because we really didn't have a lot of students in the building. So this year we've had to beef up our game and start maintaining more items. One of the things that we've done over in the contingency areas is started looking at what needs to be done at what school and where the priority is, and not really for a construction type project, but more of a maintenance type projects. We've talked about replacing our roofs on a rotation basis and where we need to start with those type of things, water heaters, all those things have to be replaced every so often, so we're keeping that in mind when we make this budget out. Ernest and I sat down, we talked with the principals to find out what they need specifically this summer, to be finished, and so before students get in the building. So we have several plans going on there. Student transportation is at the bottom of that page 5. That includes your bus drivers and your bus monitors.
The 2,700, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so I have also included in there under the 700 property account for bus expenditures. So we are financially able to actually purchase buses ourselves without going through KISA. That would prevent us from having to pay the interest payments on that. So right now, our money does not earn as much where it's invested as what those interest payments would be. So it's just financially better to go ahead and purchase outright than to make those interest payments. Food service, it's on entity. We cover anything that they are not able to make back. So I just left that as a 0 amount, because we expect that to do well and to provide income. Community services, you're looking at family resource and those type of things. And then we're down to the contingency. And at the bottom of the page, that's the 5,300 account. That is where I have put our corning payments, to where we can go ahead if we choose to pay that off. We may want to look at that time to see what's better as far as what our money is actually drawing interest on, as opposed to going ahead and making that payment. Interest is predicted to go up in the near future, so we may have a better return on our dollar.
Let me jump in there, Kim. So we know that we have to pay Corning back $750,000, so almost $1 million sitting right there waiting for us to pay back to Corning. Corning has agreed to allow us to pay that back over a 3-year period. They're asking that we do it closer to 2 years, which we are amenable to. Having said that, again, if it's to the benefit of Danville Independent Schools for us to, we could pay it and get it off the books, we could, but because we receive that money over time, we're allowed to pay that back to them over time. Therefore, we would draw interest on that money before we pay that off. And so that's it looks like that, it's not a very large contingency at all, but it actually looks like it's a little bit bigger because we've got 2 or 3 accounts like that. Kroger is another one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kroger's a possibility that our legal counsel is still getting back with us on. We also, since the softball project was a project that cannot be bonded, that project money is in there for next fiscal year. And then also the roofing expenditures that we discussed, and doing our rotation is housed there in that area.
There was a concern for a little while about the HVAC at Bate Middle School.
Bate Middle School, we have the product. We're waiting for Carrier to give us a pricing on how much it is to actually do the installing.
Right, okay.
The installation, I'm sorry. The problem with that is they're not wanting to give us that estimate that far out in advance because their labor cost is going up. They know they can do it, but they don't know when they're going to be able to do it, just because they have quite a bit of business without having the workers provide the service.
They don't get locked in.
And that's exactly right. They don't want to get locked in to something that they can't provide. And so we have tentatively just set aside that amount to be able to take care of it.
Okay.
I want to also kind of piggyback a little bit on there. And I will, as far as again, I'll go through I'm not going to go through the budget again, but what I'll call your attention to is basically page 1. You'll see that that's revenues, and that's how much money we're bringing in. So that's revenues on page 1, 2, and 3. And that total amount comes up to what Kim was mentioning is the balanced budget down there of $29,858,460. And so that would include the on behalf payments. But what I also want to call your attention to is then pages 4, 5, and 6 are our expenditures. So first 3 pages, how much we bring in. The next 3 pages, how much we anticipate going out.
Right.
And so that I can piggyback on what she said, I do want to pull up those expenditures, because what you will see in almost every one of these codes, the 1,000 code on construction, this is the $8,125,300. This is all salaries for personnel services, employee benefits, and then the on behalf payments in there. Then you'll go down to 2,100 salaries. You get down to 2,200, you're going to see the biggest amount in there is salaries. And then same thing with 2,600 with the administrative staff, same thing with the 2,400. So each one of these, our biggest expense is salary. So I do want to note that, because we actually try to spend some time. So one other thing I was thinking about with Boyle is because they have access to funds that we do not, they are operating with about 70, and I've been told this secondhand, not directly from Mr. LaFavors, but they are operating at 78% of their budget is on salary. And when we did our figures, Kim, we did 83%, and then with a projected increase of, let's say, 3% that we just kind of threw in there, we go up to 84% of our total budget being spent on salaries, which is good. We love our teachers and our staff and what they do every single day. I just want that I want that known, that we care so much for the impact that our teachers have on our students. They're the ones who literally touch our kids every day in their life. And so I want that known. The business side of being a superintendent says that leaves 16% to do everything else in the district that we're trying to do. And 16% of your budget. So as I checked on our transportation, we have, since 2018, we've bought 1 regular bus for our district. And really, we should be buying a bus every year for, you're thinking about a 12-year lifespan on a bus, and we have 13 routes. So we should be buying 1 bus every year to replace, and we bought 1 bus. A bus is a $140,000 commitment. So therefore, 2 buses would equal a 2% raise on our teachers, or a 1% raise on our teachers. Currently, our buses are falling apart left and right, and while we do not have a maintenance staff nor a bus garage here, we have 1 maintenance staff that is doing a fantastic job, by the way. We're finding that our costs, because we're using so many old buses, we're taking our buses to Somerset, to Diesel Tech, to be repaired at great expense as well. And so when you think about the remaining amount, so if 83 to 84% is used on staffing, that only leaves you 16 to 17% to run the rest of the district. And as a person who's, as a superintendent, had to replace a boiler at 2 or 3 schools, a boiler currently to be replaced, and you just plan for that. It's going to happen. Is going to be currently about a $65,000 expense. That's provided we could get the parts and the service to do that. And so that's the only reason that I say that is, again, I understand we live in the community with Boyle, but again, when they have so much more operating capital, especially on percentage, just by the even if they do now they've done the 5%, they still have all of that capital to do things that normally we're going to have to really watch carefully. I applaud Ms. Huddleston, the work she's done on planning. we could lease buses, and all you're doing then is taking what should be a 12-year commitment for a bus and spreading it out over 20 years.
Oh, boy.
And you don't, you know, that's a negative payment right there after you get past year 12
Mm-hmm.
on that one. So I appreciate her working so diligently to have that money set in there. And then our community has expectations, you know. As soon as I got here, you talk about the softball restroom and concession stand, that we don't even have that complex. And so the planning this board has done to do things like that, the roofing projects that you've done, that all take, and then we pay out an electric bill every month at all of our schools, a substantial electric bill. And all of that gets paid for out of that 16%
Right.
that's left over. Ms. Huddleston, anything else?
No, I don't think so. Do you have any questions for me?
The, you know, we're no different than my family budget. You know, when I went out and paid $2.30 for a dozen eggs, which 6 months ago I paid 89 cents for, and the $3 a gallon for milk, and then it just goes on and on and on. So I know what everybody's going through, because we're going through it ourselves. But our district is going through the same thing. So it's, you know, everybody will say we're gonna give you a contracted price, but there's a but in there.
Right.
You know, and I guess what's frustrating to me is that, you know, we have carriers sitting out there, and now for a year, they've told us they're not gonna lock us in on a price. Well, we already have the equipment here, so the issue is getting it installed, is that correct?
That's correct.
So why aren't we looking somewhere else?
Well, I think Mr. Dunn would probably be able to answer that better than I could. It may have something to do with the system in itself is having to be installed by a carrier person, the distributor. Because Train, when we bought Train for the high school, it had to be installed by them because it was a maintenance project.
But you know, we're gonna be up against what we have been for the last 2.5, almost 3 years. We're gonna have parts of bait that's not air conditioned, or at least not air conditioned well, and at a great cost to the district. It's time we do a little demanding, because those units we purchased all 3 of those units on purpose to have them, because anticipated shortage of parts and so forth. So, but I don't want to fool around with this anymore.
Got it.
I agree.
I mean, is the board in agreement with this?
I agree with that.
And basically, if carrier's not gonna come through, and if we have to go through Train and get a hold of those folks, which we have a good relationship with, let's get this done.
All they're saying they prefer have their people do it because of warranty issues.
I'm not sure.
I'm curious.
I think that's
Yeah.
probably it.
That's probably what it is.
Because
We'll give you the good warranty, but our people have to do it so the warranty is valid.
But we have units that have been sitting on the roof for 3 years. Are they still under warranty? I mean, this is my point. We can't be the nice guy about this anymore.
No,
I mean, that was $1 million project that's
Right.
still not completed.
yeah, that's true.
So let's get that moving. I want you all to know, you know, I've been in this district for 31 years. And God, this is the best thing we ever did as a family, was to move to Danville. We can't be everything to everybody, but we sure are going to do our best to make sure that there's fair compensation and that we financially can handle that. Because it's like Dr. Thomas said, it's not just this year, it's 10 years. You know, and then in that 10 years, there will be other raises and other, you know, more compensation. And then I call it the creep, but it's the step. Then you have the step involved, and a lot of times that's not even put into consideration when you do these raises, because then it goes up again the following year. So we have lost millions of dollars in property valuation. Anytime the hospital a college, a church, goes and buys a piece of property. The city, perfect example, where the firehouse is going right now. We used to get $9,000 a year property taxes on that. It's gone. So you start adding up all these numbers, oh, this house only paid $900. That's 25 years, 50 years, 100 years of income we no longer get. So we're in a real struggle, you know, and we're working on these things, trying to talk to the different entities that are non-taxing, or, you know, that don't pay their property taxes. So, and we've made these contacts. So we are working on this because we want everybody to get compensation and be paid well and teach our kids well, but it's really tough to do. You know, like I said, this is like the biggest dance because we need to spend almost $300,000 to buy 2 buses. What, does it seem silly? If the buses are not safe, which they are, I'm just saying the continual maintenance that we pay, it's a minimum of $2,000 or $3,000 to take that bus to Somerset. You know, and that's just one example.
That's for just preventive maintenance.
So we next week we will decide. I promise we're not going to let this go on any longer, but we are going to do our best. And it may not meet expectations, but it will be the best.
And I think again, the good news is we plan on step increases as well, so that's a bonus for any one of our employees that's moving into that step, so that's good. And again, I applaud Ms. Hudson on her foresight on that, because she actually brought it up to me, and I had actually forgotten that one, so appreciate that. Same thing with the city. If the city buys property, we lose that tax money as well. But again, I go back to when we have the best product available, and that's not to take away anything. I'm not calling our kids a product or our district a product. It's just terminology. But when we provide the best, when we do that as Danville schools, and people are desiring to come in, instead of going deficit of 118 kids, and we start moving toward getting those back and adding more to, you're talking, you know, you're truly talking about $500,000 to $750,000 that is just waiting for us to be us, the best version of us, for people to desire to come and be a part of what we're doing. I think at the high school with the UK Next Gen, the dual credit opportunity, kids in their area schools do not have, Lincoln County has that opportunity, but other kids do not have that opportunity to get their gen ed requirement taught by a University of Kentucky professor and get that while they're in high school. That's very attractive to kids. I think at Hogsett Elementary, we have the primary school in the area. I mean, it is setting the bar so high that if I'm a nurse or work in a dental office and I'm in Casey County and I'm a young parent, I would use House Bill 563 and drop my child at Hogsett Elementary and be so thankful I have that as an opportunity. I think that's our future and where we have our gain, and we believe that if we get them at kindergarten and first grade and we keep them on their benchmark assessments in reading and math, and they transition with their friends to second grade where we're keeping them on target, on their benchmark in reading and math, third, fourth, fifth grade, we think that's the avenue that is the long-term plan for Danville schools to be the school that we know that it needs to be, and so that we attract the kids that we know that we can attract. It's a good plan. It's a good plan, and it's quick, and it happens quicker than you think. As I shared this morning, our current second graders will be in middle school in 4 years.
Yeah.
Actually, less than that, right?
You're making me old.
Because it's already May.
Yeah.
So a little bit over 3 years, they're going to be in middle school, and a little bit over 6 years, you know, they're going to be in high school, and so it happens very quickly, and sometimes fast is slow, and we slow down and do the things we need to do so that we can speed up a bit.
Right.
Well, and if you all know folks that work in this district, work in Danville, and their kids are in Casey County, or they're here, or whatever, would it not be easier to have your children in the district where you work? And there's no reason you can't bring that up to them and say, wow, wouldn't it just be so much easier? Yeah, that's recruiting. And you know what, I'm not anymore gonna refrain from that. Anytime there's the opportunity, I get to talk to folks about bringing your kids to Danville, I do it.
I have two girls that are products of Danville schools, and I don't live in Danville, so I agree.
Hooray for you, yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea is the more bodies we have in the buildings, the more money we get from the state. And we start improving what we're doing, that's another attraction to coming. I mean, we already have students coming from different districts, and we just need lots more. So, we need your help. Do you all have, and we generally don't do this during work sessions, but do you all have any questions or concerns?
Well,
I have a comment.
Oh, go ahead.
Can I have a comment?
Well, sure.
It's just really hard. You're talking about these test scores and increasing these kids, but it's really hard because we continue to lose teachers, great qualified teachers, and it's to Boyle County. And it's really hard to get a brand new teacher out of college, which is what we've had in the Danville School District the past 2 years, and expect them to be at that high qualified teacher that we just lost. It's really hard.
And I feel your frustration. I mean, I've been married to a teacher for 38 years. I can't believe I'm still there. But anyways, I mean, she still has me, but
This is on video.
that's okay. It's not something that's gonna happen tomorrow. And Dr. Ross coming on board knows that, but he also knows we have to have a plan. And so we all have to buy in. And you're right, it's hard to bring in a first and second year teacher and have those expectations. But you know, if we didn't have those expectations, they may not meet what we need anyways. But I know it's hard.
Why have we lost those teachers to Boyle County?
Salary, some programs, we keep changing programs. I'll be very honest with you, we lost a handful of teachers due to letters.
Reading program.
The reading program.
Yeah, I understand.
We lost so many teachers because it was such an extensive amount of work. I put off my master's for 2 years because it was such an extensive amount of work on top of what we were already doing in the classroom.
Okay. Workload.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to make a comment. I came to you all in February about the classified staff, and I'm pleased to see that it's a strong recommendation for the dollar an hour raise plus the percent on top of that for them. I think that will send a very strong message to our classified people, because they were.
It was secure positions.
I'm sorry.
Secure positions.
Yes.
A lot of would recognize that as well, and, I don't think we've really even taken time to look at that comparison like we just did today with our area. And when we did that, across the board, every classified area we looked at, and those three really stood out. That's just, it's tough.
But we are on board to make the changes that's going to be positive for the district. Again, success for all.
All right.
That includes teachers and staff.
Yep, that's right. Thank you all.
Thank
very
you.
much.
so much. Thank you. The ball games, he waits now,
Yeah.
so I'll make that.
Yeah. I know. Thanks, Blossom.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we are down to other business. Is there any other business we need to cover?
We probably need to put this on for a later date, but we're going to talk about the email we received from Dr. Ross concerning a potential position. So I just want to make sure that gets somehow on one of our upcoming meeting minutes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right, seeing there's not any other business, we need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn this work session.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody.
You
I
get
have
the
one
camera cam?
question.